Thank you, Mr. President, members. Good evening. I don't get emotional very often, and I did earlier because when it comes to our children, they simply are my weakness. But we need to slow down, members, just for a moment and really think about this bill. Why is it being brought? And what is it designed to accomplish? And the effects that it would have and will have not only on local law enforcement, but on the fastest growing demographic in our state. The first two questions are the toughest for advocates to answer. There are no sanctuary cities in Texas. You heard my dialogue with Senator Williams earlier. He could not name one city. And I asked him no less than 3 times. No one has yet to cite a municipality in this state where undocumented immigrants are sheltered or nurtured or otherwise protected by any ordinance or code. And we've heard a lot of rhetoric and grandstanding about drug cartels and so-called criminal aliens. We've all heard the anecdotes that this undocumented person killed someone who was drunk driving and that undocumented immigrant did this or that. Members, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps when I was 18 years old to defend our country. I represent 2/3 of the Texas-Mexico border, more border than most of y'all put together. There's nobody that I know on this Senate floor that doesn't want to protect our Texas-Mexico border. But while these isolated incidents might make a good story, the simple fact is that the numbers and the statistics tell another story. So why do we need this bill? And why is this an emergency? Beyond the divisive political ideology that's at work, and beyond the fact that some people think that they need this to garner votes in a primary election, there is no good reason. And I've heard some members tell me that, well, because we fought for more funding for our children in public ed, now we have to deal with this bill. That's mean and that's vindictive, and it's wrong. And I will tell you right now, I will never compromise my values when it comes to fighting for the children of Texas. So the fact that we're here today, and if you're using this bill to get back at us for fighting for children, that's not on us. It's on those that believe this bill should be used for payback. Indeed, just this weekend, we got a bitter taste of the ideology at work of the minds of some of the folks that support this bill. There was a rally in support of this bill, and the co-founder of the Immigration Reform Coalition of Texas bemoaned the presence of too many Hispanics in the legislature. She said, that's part of our problem, and we need to change those numbers. We need to do something about that. And though her words were condemned, we were also told that this bill is not about race or politics. It's not about the color of anyone's skin. Members, that's exactly what this bill is about. As your colleague and as your friend, I do not want to believe that that is your intention. I don't want to believe that I don't believe that most of you would have brought this bill forward on your own. But intentional or not, regardless of the motivation, this bill and your vote strikes at the hearts and the souls of the Latino people in Texas. It threatens their freedom and their independence. Any encounter with law enforcement, any furtive glance or misstatement could result in suspicion. And suddenly, it doesn't matter where you were born. It doesn't matter where you live, how you make your living. It doesn't matter if you serve our country. All that matters all of a sudden is the color of your skin and if you have an accent, perhaps. And all of a sudden, a new burden of proof is imposed. Members, don't fool yourselves about how this bill would have to be enforced. It opens the door to discrimination against legal immigrants, American citizens, tourists, travelers, anyone who looks like me, Senator Lucio, Senator Hinojosa, Senator Gallegos, anyone who is a member of the fastest growing population in Texas. And I know a little bit about being discriminated against because of the color of my skin. When I was just in pre-K, 5 years old, we were not allowed to speak Spanish in school. My name is Carlos, obviously, so my teacher said, we're not allowed to say Carlos because that's a Spanish name. So we're going to nickname you Charlie. To this day, my family calls me Charlie because we were not allowed to speak Spanish in school. Meaning, I couldn't even say my own name, Carlos, in school. When I was a young teenager, I had friends, female friends, that wouldn't date me because they told me, their fathers told them they couldn't date a Mexican. When I was a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps, back in 1986, a basic school, other second lieutenants would come in from the field, we were sweaty, taking off our packs, and they say, look, there goes a real wetback. Talking about me. There was 150 second lieutenants in our class, only 3 Hispanics. And they would point to me and say, there goes a real wetback. They thought it was funny. I didn't think it was funny. It was pure ignorance. And quite frankly, I shouldn't have to prove I'm an American citizen. When I was born on September the 12th of 1963, Santa Rosa Hospital in San Antonio, Texas, I proved then I was an American citizen. When I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps at the age of 18, I proved then that I was an American citizen. And when I took the oath to defend our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I proved then that I was an American citizen. Yes, I love the color of my skin, don't get me wrong, but I shouldn't have to prove my citizenship simply because my skin is a little darker than yours. So what are we doing here, members? Why is this body so aggressively pursuing a policy that runs counter to the best interest of our state and all its people? This bill is hurtful, it's ignorant, and it's offensive. I'm going to close, members. I've tried to reach you all this evening talking about legal issues, emotional issues, and as Dean Whitmire did, I want to try to reach you spiritually. A few sessions ago, Senator Patrick, all of us in agreement, put those 4 words up there above Lieutenant Governor Dewhurst that read, "In God we trust." Every morning we have a prayer, and we ask for God to watch over us as we deliberate and as we vote. Just a few minutes ago, Senator Birdwell said we should have the courage to do what's right. And so I'm going to ask you, members, to pray before you vote. And I'll ask you to ask yourself one question before you vote. What would Jesus do? Thank you.